Same tire size, 2 boxes on the counter. One set costs 200 more than the other, and the person behind the register taps the expensive one and tells you it is the safer choice. Here is what does not get said. A great many of the cheaper badges on that wall are owned outright by the premium companies. Not copies of them, owned by them. Same parent, same engineering, frequently the same factory. So today I want to walk you through the 3 places most people buy tires, how each one actually makes its money, and then 5 checks you can run on any tire, in any shop, with nothing but your phone. Run those 5 and nobody can move you off your money again. Nothing here is for sale. No affiliate links, no guide, no membership. Every source is linked below. Let us start with the place most people go first because the reflex is so strong. The dealership. The thinking goes like this. My car came from the dealer, so the dealer knows my car, so the dealer should fit the tires. It feels like keeping things factory. Here is what is actually happening. A dealership is not a tire business. It is a car business with a tire counter attached. And that counter operates on a completely different economic model from a shop that only sells tires. There is also something genuinely worth understanding about original equipment tires, because it gets misunderstood in both directions. When your car left the factory, it came on tires built to the manufacturer's own specification. Those are often made by a major brand, and the rubber is generally good. But the original equipment version of a tire and the replacement version sold in shops are frequently tuned differently, even when they carry the same name. The car maker orders a compound and construction to hit a particular ride, noise, or rolling resistance target for that vehicle, which cuts both ways. It means buying the same model name off a shelf does not guarantee you an identical tire to the one your car came with. And it also means the original fitment was not necessarily the best tire available for your car. It was the one that met the car maker's targets, including cost. On price, the pattern is consistent enough that you can plan around it. Dealership tire quotes frequently come in well above an independent tire shop for the same brand, model, and size. And then fees stack on top. Mounting, balancing, a shop fee, disposal, and often a nitrogen fill charge. That last one deserves a word. Nitrogen in tires is not a scam exactly, but it is oversold. The air you already breathe is roughly 78% nitrogen. Pure nitrogen does migrate through rubber slightly more slowly and is less affected by moisture, which matters in aviation and motorsport. On a road car that you check monthly with a gauge, the practical benefit is small, and paying a meaningful sum per tire for it is not where your money does the most work. So the honest summary on dealerships is not that they are dishonest. It is that you are paying for convenience and for the building, and unless your tires are covered under warranty or your car takes a genuinely rare size, that is an expensive way to buy rubber. Now the second place, the national tire chain. These are usually much better on price than a dealership, and plenty of them do genuinely good work in the Bay. Mounting and balancing a tire properly takes skill and a decent machine, and a shop that charges fairly to do it right is not overcharging you. What is worth knowing is how the pricing is structured. The number on the shelf is very often not the number you pay. On top come mounting, balancing, new valve stems, disposal, and then the road hazard or protection certificate, which is typically an extra charge per tire. None of those are necessarily unreasonable. The issue is that the advertised price hides a meaningful share of the total until you are already committed, which makes comparing 2 shops almost impossible unless you specifically ask the right question. And I will give you that question shortly. Then there is the upsell, and this is where knowing one thing changes the whole conversation. Walk into any tire shop and look at the cheaper rows. You will find names that a lot of drivers assume are unknown or second-rate, and a great many of them are owned by the biggest companies in the industry. Kelly is owned by Goodyear. General Tire has been owned by Continental since 1987. B.F. Goodrich came under Michelin ownership in 1990. When Michelin acquired Uniroyal Goodrich. Firestone was acquired by Bridgestone in 1988. These are not imitations. They are value badges the premium companies own deliberately, so they can sell engineering that has already been developed and paid for at a lower price point. Without discounting the flagship name, the development money was spent years ago. The tooling exists. Moving that technology down into a cheaper badge costs the parent company relatively little, and it captures the customer who was never going to pay top price. So when somebody steers you off a value line and up to the flagship on safety grounds, it is worth understanding what is actually happening. Frequently, the same parent company owns both. That does not mean the 2 tires are identical, because they genuinely are not. A current flagship tire often does perform better, particularly in wet braking, but the framing of cheap equals dangerous is doing a lot of work that the ownership structure does not support. Now the third place, the warehouse club. The objection comes first, so let me deal with it. You have to pay a membership fee just to walk in the door. Here is why that changes the economics in your favor. A warehouse club makes a large share of its profit from membership renewals, rather than from margin on individual items. That gives it a reason to price aggressively and to bundle services in, because the goal is to give you a reason to renew rather than to maximize the take on one transaction. In practice, that usually shows up in two ways: instant rebates on major brands that run more or less continuously, and an installation package that includes lifetime rotation, rebalancing, flat repair, and often road hazard coverage in the price, rather than selling each of those separately or charging every visit. That second part is worth more than people expect. Rotation every 5,000 to 7,000 miles over the life of a set of tires adds up to a good number of visits, and paying for each one is real money. The trade-offs are also real, and I want to be straight about them. Selection is limited to whatever that club chooses to stock, which may not include the specific tire you wanted. Appointments book out, so you cannot generally turn up on a Saturday and expect quick service. And the membership itself is a cost you have to weigh against how much you actually buy there. One thing I want to correct, because it circulates constantly and it is not established. You will hear it stated as fact that a particular club's house brand tire is made by one specific premium manufacturer. Costco does not publish who makes Kirkland signature tires, and the sources asserting a specific manufacturer generally trace back to forum speculation rather than to any company statement. It may well be true. It is not confirmed, and I am not going to tell you it is. What is confirmed is the 4 ownership facts I gave you a moment ago, and those are enough to change how you shop. Write the 5 checks. These work anywhere on any tire at any of those 3 places. Check 1, the date code. Every tire has a 4-digit stamp on the sidewall as part of the DOT number. The first 2 digits are the week of manufacture. The last 2 are the year. So a tire stamped 3224 was built in the 32nd week of 2024. This matters because rubber ages whether or not the tire is being used. A tire sitting in a warehouse is slowly changing regardless of tread depth. Shops do sell old stock at full price, sometimes without realizing it themselves. Before you pay, look at the code on the actual tires they are about to fit, not the ones on the display rack. If they are more than a couple of years old, ask for fresher stock or ask for a discount. Both are entirely reasonable requests. Check 2, find out who actually owns the brand. This is the check that saves the most money, and it takes 30 seconds on your phone in the shop. Before you dismiss a cheaper name, search the brand plus the word owned. Half the time you will find one of the giants standing behind it, selling you their engineering with a smaller markup and a less famous name on the sidewall. Check 3, read the sidewall ratings and understand what they do and do not tell you. There are 3 numbers that matter and one common misunderstanding. The load index and speed rating are printed after the tire size. Those are the 2 you must not compromise on. Your car's required load and speed rating are printed on a sticker in the driver's door jamb. Going below either of them is not a comfort decision. It is a safety one, and no discount justifies it. Then there is the treadwear grade, and here is the misunderstanding, because a lot of videos get this wrong. You will see a treadwear number on the sidewall, typically somewhere between 200 and 800. Higher generally indicates a longer wearing tread compound, but those grades are assigned by each manufacturer based on their own testing against their own reference tire. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration states plainly that the grades are not necessarily comparable between different manufacturers. So comparing a 700 from one company against a 300 from another does not tell you what people think it tells you. Within one manufacturer's range, it is a reasonable guide. Across brands, treat it as a rough signal rather than a measurement. For actually comparing tires across brands, the useful sources are independent test results and the manufacturer's own mileage warranty, which is a commercial promise they have to honor. Check 4, ask for the out-the-door price for 4 tires fitted, not the shelf price. The total including mounting, balancing, valve stems, disposal, any road hazard fee, and tax. That single question makes every shop comparable in about a minute. A 100-pound tire with 90 pounds of fees behind it loses to a 120-pound tire with everything included. And you cannot see that from the shelf. Ask every shop for the same number and write it down. That is the whole check. Check 5, ask what is included after the sale. Rotation, rebalancing, flat repair, road hazard. At some places, every one of those is a charge on every visit. At others, they are included for the life of the tire. Over 4 or 5 years, that difference is genuinely significant, and it almost never appears in the price comparison people actually make. So those are the 5. Date code, who owns the brand, the sidewall ratings with the treadwear caveat, the out-the-door total, and what is included afterwards. Now, one more thing. Because there is a category none of those 3 shops has much reason to push. Not every good tire is owned by a giant. There are manufacturers with no premium parent company at all, and some of them represent genuine value. Nobody at a counter tends to lead with them because the margin is thinner and there is no famous badge to lean on. And I want to be honest about the trade-offs rather than pretend they do not exist, because this is exactly where people get hurt. Independent testing consistently finds that the gap between premium and budget tires shows up most in wet braking and in handling at the limit. Not in dry stopping on a warm day, where the difference is often modest, but in emergency braking on a wet road, where a budget tire can take meaningfully longer to stop. Some budget models also wear faster and get noisier as they do. That is the honest downside, and it is not nothing. A wet stopping distance difference is a real safety difference. But here is the reframe that actually matters. The question is not premium versus budget as categories. It is whether the specific tire you are looking at performs adequately in independent testing, and whether it matches your car's required load index and speed rating exactly. A cheaper tire that tests well and matches your ratings is genuine value. A cheaper tire with the wrong ratings or poor wet performance is not a bargain at any price. Knowing which is the entire skill, and it takes one search on your phone. Here is what I would do this week, and it costs nothing. Open your driver's door and look at the sticker on the door frame. It lists your correct tire size and the load and speed rating your car was built for. Photograph it. That photograph is the thing you check every quote against. If a tire meets your required size and meets or exceeds the load index and speed rating, it is appropriate for your vehicle from a specification standpoint. That does not make every such tire equally good, which is why the testing question still matters. But it does mean nobody can tell you a correctly rated tire is unsafe for your car. And while you are out there, look at the date codes on the tires you are already running. You may discover something about how old they were when they were sold to you. So, to bring this together, the dealership sells convenience and charges for the building. The national chain often does good work but structures its pricing so the shelf number is not the real number. A warehouse club has an economic reason to bundle services in, along with genuine limitations on selection and scheduling. None of those 3 is a villain. They are 3 different business models, and knowing which one you are standing in tells you which questions to ask. The ownership facts are the thing most people never learn. Kelly is Goodyear. General has been Continental since 1987. Michelin has owned B.F. Goodrich since 1990. Bridgestone bought Firestone in 1988. That knowledge alone reframes half the conversations that happen at a tire counter, and the 5 checks cost you nothing but the time it takes to ask. One closing note that matters more than anything else here. Never go below the load index or speed rating printed on your door jam sticker. And if you have any doubt about what your vehicle requires, ask a qualified tire professional rather than working it out from a video. This is general education, not fitting advice for your specific car. If this was useful, subscribe. And tell me in the comments what is on your car right now, because I am curious how many people have ever actually looked at the sidewall. Take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.